I'm William Brown. I'm an associate artist at Timeline Theater, one of my favorite theaters in the country. I've directed 2 Arthur Miller plays. Incident Vichy up at Writers, which was powerful and memorable, and All My Sons at American Players Theater, which is an outdoor theater, 1,100-seat theater. And we knew it was a powerful production. The audience was always moved by it. But when they finally had matinees, it's outdoors, it's in the daytime. What the cast never forgot was they'd look at the house, and all these men would be wiping away the tears. And I've never forgotten that.
So I had the good fortune to run into Arthur Miller in a restaurant in New Haven with a colleague of mine, and we both went over, introduced ourselves. He was very nice. I think he made it clear he didn't want to sit down and have a long chat with us, so we moved on.
Hey, I'm PJ Powers, Timeline Theater Company's artistic director. I have so many Arthur Miller memories, but my first one, when I was 10 years old, I played Bert in a production of All My Sons in Troy, Michigan, and that was my introduction to the master playwright. Since then, though, I have countless memories of amazing productions of his, A View from the Bridge at Shattered Globe Theater in the early 90s, and 3 of my favorite productions in Timeline's 19-year history: The Crucible in 2001, All My Sons in 2009, and right now, The Price to commemorate his 100th. Happy birthday, Mr. Miller.
Death of a Salesman was one of the most important shows I ever saw. I was young, probably about maybe in my late teens at the time. I saw it at Arena Stage in Washington, D.C. And when the show was finished, I burst into tears because the story was really, to me, about my uncle, who I loved very much, but had a lot of problems, and it affected me deeply. It was a really incredible story.
My name is Bob Bonaparte, and I'm here with my son Ian Bonaparte. And I came from Portland, Oregon to see Arthur Miller's The Price, and my son Ian came from New York City to see this show. We're delighted to be here. I took my youngest son, James, to New York City to see Arthur Miller's Death of a Salesman, and I saw the last live performance of Philip Seymour Hoffman, when he played Willie Loman in Death of a Salesman. Andrew Garfield was in the show as one of the greatest shows I ever saw, and I absolutely love Arthur Miller, so thank you.
The memory of choice here, I had the great fortune to meet Arthur Miller. He was coming to the end of his life, and it was on the first preview of the last play that he wrote called Finishing the Picture. And I had previously made Robert Fall's
promised me that someday he would introduce me to Arthur Miller. And my wife and I got tickets to the first preview, and we were sitting in the orchestra section, and we were watching, looking at the set, reading our programs, and then saw this gentleman being escorted into the theater and sat down a couple of rows away from us, and I looked over, and sure enough, it's Arthur Miller. Well, I kind of froze for a second, and I said to my wife, let's go up to the lobby, I want to talk to Bob. So we ran up there, and I said, Bob, remember that promise I asked you to make about introducing me to Arthur Miller? Would you do it now? And he said, well, sure, come on. So we came down to the theater, we walked down the aisle, and we stopped in front of Miller's Row, and Bob gave me a very generous introduction. He said, Arthur, this is Luke Conte. He's directed a bunch of your plays. He's really very good, and they were great productions. And he just wanted to say hi. And then Bob leaves me standing there with Arthur Miller. And I looked at him, and I just kind of choked for a minute. I was like, I really don't know what else to say, but I said, Mr. Miller, you were my hero, and I really love your work. Would you sign an autograph for me? And I had brought a copy of Death of a Salesman with me. He signed it. He asked me how to spell my name. He shook my hand, and my wife was standing behind me, and I grabbed her, and I pulled her in, and I said, this is my wife. She's an actress in Chicago, and she would like to say hi to. And he shook her hand, and then we both walked back up the aisle and out into the lobby, and Bob was standing in the lobby. He said, well, what did he say? And I said, well, not a whole lot. But he said, did you get his autograph? And I said, of course. And I showed it to him, and I thanked him profusely. But that's, not everybody gets to meet their hero, and I was like a kid meeting Mickey Mantle, and it was terrific. It was a great, great moment, and that's my Arthur Miller story.